Hey guys, my name is PK Zimpo and welcome to today's tutorial where I will be showing you how to make a very simple health bar slash stamina bar system. Stamina bars and health bars are probably the one thing that is prominent in most games, whether it be your own or your enemies. So let's just get right into the tutorial. So here I just have the default scene. I've added a platform and a player cube. And on the player cube, there's just a very simple movement script. And to start off, we're just going to make a script that's going to be handling the actual health of the player. So in the project tab, I made a folder called scripts, and we're going to make a new empty script. And I'm just going to call it health. So we're in our newly made health script. I'm going to start by making two variables. One for our max health, and one for our actual health. Our max health is going to be public so that we can simply change the value of it in our inspector. So now that we have that, we're just going to go to our start function and set our health equal to max health. And now that we have our actual health value, we can just go ahead and start messing around and start decreasing it and whatnot. If we go to our update function, let's do an if input.getKey down keycode.space. And in here, we're just going to do health minus equals 10. I'm going to put a debug log here to grab our health. So what this does is every time we press our space bar, our health is just going to be decreased by 10. So now, if we go to our game, we go to our player, we can drag our health script onto our player here. We can set our max health equal to 100. And if we hit play, we go to our console, and every time I press space, it will subtract by 10. Perfect. So now what if I wanted to set our health back to max health after I've subtracted? To our script, we make a new function called private, let's say set to max health. Do the same thing we do in our start function. So we just do health is equal to max health. And in our update function, if we do, let's say for example, input.getKeyDown keycode.m, we can call our function set to max health, and it's just going, every time we press M, it's just going to set our health to max right here. And since this is the same thing, we can just copy paste this function up here as well. We put debug.log here, set to max health. Now if we go to our project, here we hit play. In our start, we set to max health 100, and now every time we hit space, we see it subtracts 10, and now if we hit M, it sets our max health back to 100. Perfect. So now that we see our health is working in our script, but we want to see it visually as a health bar. If we right click in our hierarchy, we can go to UI, make an image object, and just to see our canvas better, we can click here 2D. We double click canvas. This window here is basically what we see in our viewport in our game. So as you can see in the bottom left, we have our image, and the bottom left here is our image as well. So I'm going to rename our image background because it's going to be the background of our health bar. Let's go ahead and go to the rect transform component. We're going to reset it back to the center, and we're going to create another image on the background object. So we go to UI, go to image, create image. We're going to call this the bar. We go to our background, we change our width to 200, and we change our height to 50. You can change it to whatever you want though. And when we go to our image component, we change the color to black. We go to our bar, we're going to make it a little bit smaller than our background. So we change our width to 190, and we change our health to 40. And we can just change the color of it to red. Now, one thing to note before we start working on grabbing our health for our health bar, if we go to our background, you can see that our background object is anchored to the center of our canvas with these little 4 points here. Now, I'm going to show you what happens when I move this health bar to the side over here. If we go to our game view and we change our window size, let's shrink it towards the center, you can see that our health bar actually goes out of the window. This is happening because our background is currently anchored to the center of our game view. its position on its rect transform is relative to its anchor point, which is in the center. To fix that, we can click this box over here in our rect transform component, hold down Alt, which also sets its position, and we set it to the top left. And what happens here is now that our anchor point is moved to the top left of our canvas, let's move it down a little bit. If we go to our game view now, if we shrink our game view down now, we can see that it stays in the top left because now it's anchored to the top left of our game view. Great, now we can start working on our health bar. So I'm going to make a new script. I'm just going to call it bar. So in our bar script, there are two things that we want to grab here. We want to grab our health script from our player, and we want to grab our rect transform component from our bar that we want to change. If we do private health, and we do private rect transform bar. So now we can go to our start function. We do health is equal to game object.find. So what this does is it just finds the game object with the name player and it grabs its health component script. So if we do bar is equal to so this here, because our bar that we want to change is a child of the object that this script is currently on, we can just do transform.getChild of index 0 and we can just get the rect transform component. So now if we go to our health script, we can see that our health variable is set to private. We can't directly reference our health variable outside of this script. So we have to create a public function. And now we can use this function to grab our health. So now if we go to our bar script, we go to the update function. We can do float current health is equal to health.getCurrent health. And since our scale is from 0 to 1, we can just divide this by health.maxHealth. So if our current health is 90, it will be 90 divided by 100, which will just be 0.9, and it will show that on the scale. So now that we grabbed our current health, we can use this to scale down our bar. Now our current health will scale down in the X direction, but our scale in the Y and the Z direction will stay the same. Now if we go to our project, we hit play. And now we can see that our health is set to 100 currently. And if we press space, remember to drag your scripts into the object itself. Now if we press space, you can see that our health bar is decreasing. But it's not decreasing the way that we wanted. We wanted to decrease from right to left. So the reason that it's decreasing from the sides is because if we go here, if we scale down now, we can see that it's decreasing from the sides. This is because our pivot right here is set to the center. It changes based on where the pivot of the image is. So what we want to do is set our pivot to the left side of our image. So we can just go to the X and change it to 0. And now, if we scale it down now, we can see that it moves from right to left. So if we hit play now, our health is currently 100 and we press space and it changes how we want it. And if we press M, we set it to max health and it changes our scale back to 100. Perfect. So that's just a basic health bar system that you can put on your player. Now, what if we want to attach it to the player object itself? So here you can see that I'm moving around. What if we want to attach this health bar to our player object so that it moves with our player object? So to do that, we have to make a prefab of this health bar right here. So here I made a prefabs folder. I'm going to click this background object and I'm going to drag it into our prefabs folder. And what this does is it basically makes an exact copy of this object, including its children. And I'm just going to disable this for now. And here I'm going to make a new script. I'm going to just call it create health bar. And here we're just going to drag it onto our player object because our player object is going to be the one that's creating its own health bar. So now, if we just go to our script, so here in our create health bar script, we're only going to need two things. We're going to need a reference to our canvas, and we're going to need a reference to our game object prefab. We're going to do public So we go to our start function, we can just do canvas is equal to game object find canvas, and we can instantiate health bar prefab. What this line does is going to create a copy of the health bar prefab that we're going to load into this public game object here, and it's going to make it a child of our canvas game object here. So now if we go to our project, we go to our player, we can see that our health bar prefab is currently empty, so we click and drag our prefab object that we made earlier and we drag it into the slot. Now if we go back to the script, so after we've created our health bar, we're going to want to have the health bar follow the player around. So in order to do that, we have to grab our game object camera, and we have to grab our player position in the world, and we have to translate our world position to the camera. So we have to go to the bar script. Here we have to reference our camera. So now that we have our main cam, we're going to need a reference to our player. Here we can simplify our health variable. We can just copy paste our player. Since we already do it here, we can copy paste our player to here. So now we have a reference to our player. We can translate its position to the main camera, and then we can set our health bar position equal to the main camera position of the player. So if we do transform, our position is equal to main cam world to screen point. So this line alone already follows the player, so let's go ahead and check it out in our project. As you can see, we have our health bar game object created, and if we move around, it follows our player. However, we don't want our health bar blocking our player. We want it offset, maybe a little bit above it. Back to our script, we do public vector3 offset, and we simply add an offset to this position right here. And if we go back to our project, we double click our prefab object here, and we can see that our offset variable is in the bar script, so we can change our y value to 100. Now if we click play, and you'll see that our health bar is hovering our object where we want it, and we can still see our player. And if we press space, it'll decrease how we want it, and press M, we increase how we want it as well. Perfect. So now what if we wanted to use our own custom image for our health bar? Now if I go to my health bar and I drag my own custom image into the source image here, you can see it loads properly, and now if I press space, something weird happens. Our image is shrinking, and this is not exactly the effect that we want. We want our image to cut off as our health is reducing. So in order to do that, we go to our background prefab, we go to the bar, we drag our image into the source image, and here we change our image type. It's currently simple, we change it to filled. So now we have this property here called the fill amount. And what this is if I just press play here, I go to my health bar, and we change it to horizontal. If I decrease the fill amount, we can see that it shrinks in the effect that I want. It's cutting off the health bar, it's not shrinking the health bar. So now, instead of changing the scale, we want to change the fill amount. So now if we go back to our bar script, we no longer need this rect transform because we're not going to scale it down. So we can just comment it out. And now instead what we want is the bar's image component. So in order to grab the image component of our bar, we have to use the Unity engine.ui namespace. So now we can do private image bar. So now if we do bar is equal to transform.getChild, same as before, except now we're getting the component image. And here, instead of our local scale, we're going to do bar.fill amount is equal to current health. Now if we go back to our project And if I hit space, now we can see that our health bar is decreasing how we want. It's not shrinking the overall health bar, it's actually cutting off based on how much health there is. Perfect. And that's it for my tutorial on a very simple stamina bar / health bar system. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments, and thanks for watching.